Hi, this is Eternal King here, bringing you another LOR video today. So I wanted to explain why meme swapping doesn't really work. Typically, you'll only find players who meme swap specifically in unranked, kind of quick play in LOR. And it's something that I run into every now and again with players who can't ladder efficiently. They tend to rely very heavily on meme swaps. Because essentially what a meme swap is that you have prior knowledge into what the opponent's playing, and then you essentially snap a counter as quickly as humanly possible so that you have play into the opponent. You're essentially not confident in your piloting ability, and therefore you need to meme swap a counter to play the game. And so what you'll find is, and what I find most of the time, is you have people auto-conceding a lot of games. A lot of games, right? So I'll run into people who are like, okay, Eternal King's the format master, but you really got to take him down. So it's like, okay, what's he playing? And they're on Discord, and they're like, okay, he's playing elusives. Well, we can't beat him with this deck. We can't beat him with that deck. So we're going to concede, 2 cards into what he plays, and then we're going to concede 3 cards into what he plays, and then we'll hard swap the counter. And like this sort of like stuff doesn't work on ladder. If you essentially auto concede after 2 cards, if you auto-concede after 3 cards, you're essentially not playing the game or climbing. You have now gone a negative win rate in terms of your climbing ability by hot swapping to different decks twice. Or again, in this case, 3 times. So like you might say you've essentially won 1 out of 3 games, which is why it's not a consistent laddering technique. Typically what you want to be is exceptionally confident in your ability to pilot a deck. It's like, I'm top 100 masters with, Ziggs Poppy or upgraded Ziggs Poppy. I'm top 10 masters with Annie Jin. And again, I think the top 10 masters guy that I ran into was definitely an Annie Jin guy. These players have essentially piloted these decks to the point that they're just better than everyone else. Because in a ladder environment, you can't hard swap counters. You have to build decks comprehensively, with integrity, with deliberate intelligence, decks that have significant play in a variety of situations. Not that, I know Jinx Rocket counters 1-drop spam, therefore I'm going to turbo level Jinx with this one combo play, and that's like my whole deck. And it's like, that's good for 1 game and 1 game only. Otherwise, the deck would have stats, and you could provide stats that the deck is actually relevant. So for me specifically, I've had a pretty massive impact on the Eternal metagame. I popularized Emperor's Army, and it was listed by Sunny as one of the best decks in the game. I released this deck the minute that the last expansion for LOR ever was released, and so this is my deck. Emp Army is my deck. The other deck that was taken from me and essentially skyrocketed was again Rise, right? So the only playable Rise list in Eternal is mine, and so that was borrowed from me. There might be a different name under it, but it's literally the exact list I released card for card. So in that case, it wasn't even someone trying to pretend that they were stealing my deck. It was literally just my deck, card for card. Sometimes with the Zero Relia, they tech in a couple things and they pretend it's not my deck, but no, it was my deck, literally exactly card for card. It was the old version that was on the 3 2-mana stuns, and then I upgraded it to the new version with the bounce. I felt that Gruesome Theater was slightly better anti-tempo than Steel Tempest. But yeah, so they were on the Steel Tempest version, which is the old version that I released. So when you build a deck that is essentially significant in Eternal, it stays around in one shape or form or another essentially forever. So Emp Army will be around forever. Rise will be around forever. And that's how you know that you're piloting decks optimally or competitively. That people essentially are going to your channel, and not only are they learning how to play the game, they're taking your decks and then republishing them on another website, which used to happen to me all the time. Eloy Jarvan was also one of mine, like way back when. That was taken and ran many seasons for Standard in terms of its popularity. So, again, talking about piloting decks optimally, as opposed to hot swap garbage, I'm going to play a meme, and then I'm going to run it out for one game, and then I'm going to hot swap and run it out for one game. Or I'm going to pull out the deck and auto concede, pull out the deck and auto concede, and then hot swap to something I actually think has play into what you're playing. That's not going to work for ladder. Typically, you're like hard lock silver if you're playing that way, because that's not the way ladder works. The way that ladder works is typically someone takes Eddie, and then they just win 80% of games with matron spam, and they're just like, they're really good with matron spam, with Fiora, Morgana, Eddie, and essentially matron spam cards. They're just really good with his deck, and then they win 80% of games, and then they climb to Masters. Or they're really, really good with Ziggs Poppy. They're really, really good with Azir Aurelia. They're really, really good with Swain Nora, or sometimes it's Bandle Tree. They're really, really good with Temple. They're really, really good with, any of the other top meta decks that we've gone over half a dozen times. Any Jin, obviously. So these are the decks that are essentially significant and have play and are top of the meta for a reason. Now, if you're not confident that you can play these decks optimally, there might be a problem with your piloting level, with your confidence level, with your skill ability. If all you can do is hot swap garbage combos, that's really, really bad sign for your essentially your confidence level and your playability. While I have said before that deck building in Eternal, you essentially win before you go into the game, if you find that you're deleting decks every 5 seconds to build something new, there's something wrong. People who've been following my channel for a long time, they'll know that this doesn't really change. None of this really changes, because all of my decks are essentially forever, right? I can bring out something dumb like Kindred Morgana, which I built, a year or two ago, and just like run the table with Kindred Morgana, because why not? It's a good deck, right? I can run the table with, Aryan Soul, with a big old A-Soul ramp list. I can run the table with that, because I have the experience with these lists, and I built these lists to last the test of time. A lot of people that build decks in LOR and essentially don't do very well competitively are constantly deleting their lists. That's what I find. Standard players, you can play whatever garbage you want. Hot swap to whatever garbage list you think is going to have play for 10 games, and then delete it, and it'll never exist again. But again, the way that I play for Eternal, the way that I build decks, is that they essentially last forever. That's just the mentality that I come in with my deck building. Like, why is it that Swim Elusives has 100% win rate now, when Swim built this deck, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, back when he was playing the game? Like, why is that? Because it's a good deck, right? It's a good deck that, when piloted optimally, gets results. It gets auto concedes. It farms auto concedes from players that don't know how to play the game. It's exceptionally powerful in that respect. So again, 100% win rate with Swim Elusives, or I guess 90% win rate. I think I lost one game with Swim Elusives, again, just because of the hot swap counter, right? So essentially, people just got sick of losing and auto queuing and losing, and then they hot swap to the counter. Something like a Frostbite list would be the example. And then the same thing, I'm running, Ziggs Poppy with 100% win rate, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna swap to an auto level Jinx deck so I can get Rocket and clear your board. And it's like, yeah, but like if I was on ladder, you wouldn't know that I was playing this. I could just as easily be going tall with Eddie. You can't know that. There's no world that you as a competitive player can know whether you're going to queue in to what list and what deck. So you have to be confident in your ability to play decks universally. I know that I can play this into Matron Spam. I also know I can play this into Ziggs Poppy. But like, if you're playing a hot swap style deck and all you have is play into the aggro matchup but no play into the Matron matchup, then you're not playing the game properly. That's just flat out truth. That like, the meta is called meta for a reason. So again, try this exercise when ladder unlocks in December. Play games and see how you do. Are you hard stuck diamond? Are you hard stuck plat? Are you hard stuck gold? In this format, in terms of ladder, And is it because that you're only winning, you're trying to target certain matchups, you're not confident in the decks that you're playing, you're hot swapping and losing constantly because you keep hot swapping and auto conceding, because you don't know what you're going to find on ladder, right? Is it the Ziggs Poppy? Is it the Eddy? Is it the Temple? Is it the Azir Aurelia? Is it, Thresh Nasus? You can't know. That's what a meta is. So as much fun as it is to like grief individual players who are better than you with hot swap counters, it actually looks pretty scrubby and desperate from the other person's perspective. And the way that you know that people are hot swapping into you and like sitting on a Discord server trying to discuss what to play is typically you'll see a lot of auto concedes. So basically you'll play and it's just like literally quick play. So again, why would you have to try to hard counter someone on quick play unless you're bad? But like you'll just see like concede, two right off the top. Two concedes right off the top. And you're like, why would that happen? Anyone who's playing LOR in a competitive fashion would at least play out a game till turn 8, in most instances. So if someone's like conceding at turn 2, they're bad players. Nobody concedes at turn 2. Nobody in their entire mind would concede in ladder in turn 2. Never mind see it back to back. Like that's just weird, right? That's just weird. You wouldn't see back to back turn 2 concedes unless people are on a Discord server desperate to figure out how to beat somebody. Which like thank you. Like if that's like where I'm at, that you need group think and someone to hold your hand and walk you through your deck choices, and you're swapping codes quickly on a Discord server, like that's great. That means I'm beating 10 people at once. That's what it means to me. It takes 10 people at once to sit on a Discord server and essentially discuss what it takes to beat one card player. So like that's like the ultimate compliment, I guess, as a top 100 player, that it takes that many people to try to counter out one person. This is Eternal King, signing out.